Superman 28, Brian Michael Bendis and Ivan Reis on the art. This is the final issue of Superman by Bendis. Obviously, the action is still to come. That's coming in a week or two's time. So
next week.
Yeah, so this is dealing with the Sinmar stuff, and also kind of what the Lois and Lana stuff has been building to, which is Lana reading a book that Lois wrote about Superman, and her reading a kind of excerpt from it on her podcast. And we hear, and honestly, that's probably the best part about the issue, is this whole speech about how Superman needs human beings as much as human beings need Superman. And that was a nice sentiment, and it's kind of obviously the main heartfelt point that Bendis wants to make as he says goodbye. Unfortunately, everything with the Sinmar and that conflict has mostly been a chore to read, and this issue wasn't really much different in that respect.
So, like, I've been staying up to date on this, but like this book would come out, I would read it when it comes out, even if I wasn't recording. I'm still not 100% certain on what the hell all the Sinmar stuff is about, because I don't remember him taking over the planet. Like, that was something that I didn't feel was brought up before, was it? Am I just forgetting?
I think it might have happened at the end of 25.
Okay.
It might have. Because there was a lot of stuff with that planet, and but there's so many. And honestly, the second page in here, so the second actual page of comic, is this 2-page layout, and these speech bubbles that are going all the way around the sides of the pages are absolutely atrocious.
And I can't tell the difference between the two characters, so they don't look apart. I don't know who's supposed to be talking. I don't know. I didn't realize Utopica was this supervillain's name, or this Sinmar, whatever, Sinmar Utopica. Man, I do not like this stuff. I appreciate what it did, but it was just...
It's not been clear. It's not been clear since the start, and it feels like the Lois and Lana stuff's the important part, and I get thematically it's trying to tie in to this. Like, that this story is supposed to like tie into it. And maybe shows you what happens when there's a being with Superman-esque levels of power on a planet where they don't have this bond with the population, where it is this cold and separate thing. But yeah, all of the fighting, the debating, like, I enjoyed reading the podcast, like, narration from Lana. Like, that was my favorite part of every page. Like, I was just enjoying reading that, because that was actually quite good.
Well, Bendis, here's my take on Bendis' The Superman. There's a lot of good ideas he had for Superman that I don't think the execution worked.
No.
So, you know, like, we get to in action, the Invisible Mafia. Great idea going off. Like, they hold meetings in this lead-lined building, and like they don't say Superman, and there's this whole stuff there that's kind of falls off because it starts to get into the more superhero-y stuff where it gets a little bit jumbled. And here,
or even just the leader of that being someone who's from Earth 3, and the reason why she has all these tactics is because a lot of people have to do that on Earth 3 because of Ultraman.
Right.
That's quite kind of interesting.
Right. So there's stuff there, and just like this one, there's there's a lot of good stuff here. It just gets bogged down by the Sinmar stuff, and I appreciate what he was trying to do, but I don't think he does it effectively enough. Like you said, it was a chore to read, and of course the Orange Sun has these adverse effects on him, and they get him an armor suit that charges him with Yellow Sun somehow, and and I did like the United Planet showing up at the end to kind of help him out.
It ties into the run, because a part of the run's been about setting that up with John and all the rest of it. When they shut up and I could just read the Lana podcast with like the art of him punching the alien, I was like, okay, now I'm enjoying the issue because I can just focus on the text as he's doing this. But anytime the Sinmar aliens had a conversation or talked, whether it was to each other or to Superman, even to Superman, it was kind of frustrating to read. I didn't really enjoy that at all. But Supergirl shows up with Crypto. She's got like a suit of armor on.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah,
that was cool. I like that.
But I will say I really like the final scene. So the final scene of the Superman run is and this ties into the idea that Superman needs human beings. It's not just Lois; he needs the people of the world. Is that him and Lois? He goes to a rooftop where there's just this woman playing guitar, and he shows up and says, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that sometimes when I'm out away from Earth or I'm like out in the sky or wherever, I hear your singing, and it helps me find my way home. Like it's like this beacon that I hear, because I can hear from a great distance, and I really like your music." And it's just this wonderful thing of him telling this random stranger how important she is to him, because her singing is this comforting sound that he recognizes and hears, and he asks, "Will you please play a song for us?" And that's how the story ends. The final page is her playing her guitar with them floating above. This is like a 3-page story at the end that could be in one of those anthologies, like Superman's like 80th anniversary or Action Comics 1000. This could have been a 3-page story in that, and it would have been a great 3-page story on its own. It's a wonderful 3-page thing.
It was real nice, and it was like like an after dinner thing. Like you got through this big huge meal, and you're kind of like, "Why'd I do that?" Oh, but wait, there's a small thing. All right, cool. Yeah, because it's a lot, man. This I sat down to read this one, and it took me longer than it normally should have, just because there was so much dialogue, and the way that it's written too. It makes it you stumble over it because it doesn't flow. So, but when you got to this end, it made it all worth it, I guess, because it is this really nice human moment for Clark, and it reinforces he needs humans as much as they need him.
I mean, I think what this kind of sums up to me about Bendis' Superman run is that Bendis' ideas for Superman and the way he thinks about the character are pretty on point, I think, for the most part. But the stories he's told haven't always been good. But the points he wants to make about the character are pretty much always good. But the stories he's told haven't always been. And this Sinmar stuff is a key example of that. And I know some people hate his run. I know some people think that he's kind of deconstructed everything that was built beforehand with aging John up and sending him off and kind of like having him be kind of separate from Lois for a while. Although I never really felt that. It felt like they were just doing their own thing.
Me neither. And it was fine because when you were in the Rucka Lois and they would have their moment, it made that moment feel special. Because like you said, they're both doing their own thing and they respect each other enough, I would say almost as human beings, but as in a relationship, that he knows he doesn't have to watch after her all the time. Yeah. And she knows that too. And then Bendis would reinforce that in certain things in Superman or in Action. But like, I'm so tired of hearing people complain about them aging up John. Like, that was a really good era with Tomasi and the Super Sons and all of that. But at the same time, I kind of like older John and that wrinkle that it adds to the Superman mythos.
Which, technically, by the way, the Digital First by Tomasi, continuing that is just started. So, I mean, there is more Super Sons with that age group, if you want it.
And believe me, I get it. I get upset when, like, I'm upset that there's not a Green Lantern book outside of the N.K. Jemisin one right now. I'm drawing a blank on the name with Joe.
Far Sector.
Far Sector, thank you. And so I get it. I get that there's things that you like and you get upset about it, but when I always see that that's the main factor that people don't like Bendis's Superman run, when there's a bunch of other, to me, more valid reasons, it kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And it's almost like kind of like, well, you're not liking things because you don't like what he did to John, not, because there has been good stuff in there. And just to throw it all out, like, oh, well, he aged up John and it ruined everything. I'm like, oh, come on, guys.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And if it's, I get if it's a big deal, but comic book fans can be kind of fickle and kind of like sticking to one point that really upset them. That said, I do think a lot of the stories in the back half of Bendis' Superman and Action run have been weaker. Superman especially. I think Action, the story's not been that much weaker, but unfortunately the art has tanked it in a completely different way from Superman. So
if it wasn't for the art, because I have enjoyed the story there. Because the last time I came on to talk about it, I am enjoying the House of Kent stuff. But I almost feel like he started off with a point to go and he just couldn't get there for whatever reason. Because remember, we had that whole Unity Day thing where we kind of looked at the future, and there's a, Superman's, I think, daughter that was there with the Zods, and they're having all that stuff there, and I feel like he never addressed that again. They never seeded any of that type of stuff later, and he just kind of got away from him almost. But we're moving on to a new era. Now after.
It's just sad because it's kind of I'm at this point now where honestly Bendis' Superman run as a whole, I have to be like, well, it's a very mixed bag, and I have to really sort of pick out what's good about it, what's bad about it. I can't just wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone at this point.
No,
because it is such a mixed batch of things.
I feel that with his Legion as well. Like, if I'm gonna recommend anything from Bendis's DC time, it's gonna be Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi. No, absolutely. That 6 issues of Naomi is the best thing he's done at DC. There's not even a question to me.
Because even his Legion run, which I thought started with a bang, has kind of meandered.
And I can't recommend Young Justice. I mean, if that hadn't been announced as ending, I might have dropped it a few issues before it did end.
Yeah,
I might have been done.
Yeah.
So
I'll say that too. Naomi and Event Leviathan.
I enjoyed that a lot too. So he's actually there's too many that he's done at DC that I've really, really, really liked. So I hope his Justice League leans towards them a bit more than the other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we do have one more issue of Action, so we'll get to that next week. But what are you giving Superman issue 28?
I'm gonna give this one a 7. 7. 6.5. I'm going to 6.5. The art is real strong, but I did not enjoy reading this until like really the last 3 pages.
Yeah, so, I really liked the narration from Lana and the point she makes, which thankfully after a couple of conversations mostly takes over all the text, and the Sinmar dialogue goes away. I enjoyed that, and I really loved the last 3 pages. I thought the points that it was making and that side of stuff was great, but the actual alien conflict that Superman was dealing with, bleh. I could really be doing with none of it. So, which makes it really hard to rate, because there's parts of it that I really love and thought was a touching Superman moment and a touching point to make about the character. But part of it I really didn't like. So I'm going to land on a straight 6 for this issue. But I mean, there's a lot of confliction, and I'm disappointed. I'm less disappointed with the issue at this point, and more disappointed that I'm conflicted overall. It's just as weird as that might sound.
I'll just say I'm happy that he's moving on to Justice League, and we're getting a new era for Superman, because I don't feel that outside of the initial buzz, I don't feel like Superman or that Bendis brought his buzz really to Superman. Just judging off of the Twitter reactions, or even Reddit reactions, that maybe DC was hoping he would. And
I hope single shipping for a start, but I hope he stays focused. I hope it's just he's writing this one big book now. Yeah, maybe he'll have the Leviathan sequel, Checkmate at some point. But
and also the idea of Connor having to get a Bendis book to read, Justice League Dark.
It's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny.
Yes.
He says he won't be reading it, but I've got a feeling some Patreon producers might feel otherwise.
Yeah, but it's also he really likes Ram V. So I can't imagine him not, granted you can't go and hang out at the comic shop and just read it like you used to because of, reasons. But, I feel he's going to end up reading it at some point.